what is up guys? Welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Hope you guys are doing well today. It would be really dumb for us not to talk about Patek Philippe and the watches that they released during Watches and Wonders. They have some very interesting pieces, definitely a lot of color in their lineup, and so what I'm going to be doing is walking through some of the releases that they had and giving my thoughts on it. I'll say this at the beginning of this video, I do not have these watches in my possession. This is purely just me talking about these watches, giving you some information about them, and then giving you my opinions at the end. So if you are looking for a video like that, this isn't the one, but I will be sure to put up a bunch of pictures and videos of these watches so you can see it while I talk through the watches. If you haven't seen some of our other videos where we've discussed some of the other brands and the watches that they've released during Watches and Wonders, we've covered everything from Audemars Piguet and their Black Panther limited edition to Tudor to Rolex to Breitling, which I think really was the standout performance at Watches and Wonders. So if you are looking for more Watches and Wonders coverage, we do have a playlist on our channel. You can check that out. But I'm sure some of the other Watches and Wonders videos are in the suggested videos, so you can check them out there as well. So back to Patek Philippe. One of the big watches that they released this year was a new 5711 Nautilus, this time with an olive green dial. Olive green, or green in general, has been a color that a lot of brands have played around with. Breitling had that pistachio green chronograph that they released. Tag Heuer also released I think an aqua racer with a green dial, and obviously this is going to be an absolute frenzy for this watch. Not much has changed with the 5711, same design for the most part, but the real thing that changed with this watch is this olive green dial. And I think playing around with colors is something that a lot of brands are going to do, especially with watches that they perhaps don't want to change the design of because they are so popular. It's really hard to get a hold of a 5711, and now that there's a green dial version, these watches are even harder to get a hold of. I think I saw something on Instagram where someone took a screenshot of Chrono 24 where these watches, like just a stainless steel 5711 with a green dial, these are retailing for about $35,000 US. I think they're already listed for like $250,000 US, which is absolutely absurd. They also came out with a 5711 with baguette diamonds around the outside of the bezel. That's around $100,000 US, so a little bit more expensive. I find it interesting that they put baguette diamonds on a steel cased and bracelet watch. Seems like a little bit of an oxymoron, but at the same time, I'm sure it's going to be really popular. What I think about the green dial, I mean, it's everyone's dream. You know, I think blue dials have been very popular up until this point. Patek Philippe did release a couple of watches with blue dials. I'll get to that a little bit later. But I think the different dial colors makes these watches extremely collectible, and that's kind of what I think this watch is gonna be like. Would I buy it? Absolutely. Will I be able to? Probably not, because they're so in demand. The watch itself is running on the caliber 26-330 Patek Philippe in-house movement, so you're really getting you know, everything that you can ask for with this Nautilus. Moving on to the next watch I want to talk about, and that is a watch that is a little bit of, for me, it kind of stands out design-wise as something a little bit different from Patek Philippe, and this is the Patek Philippe annual calendar. It's the reference 4947-1A. This is an all-steel watch, so steel case, steel bracelet, and it has a blue dial. And it almost has this this very it looks like linen to me. The dial itself is kind of textured like that, kind of like hashed lines in it. And I mean, when it comes to beauty from Patek Philippe watches, they do it so well. The dial itself, obviously you have your annual calendar subdials with a date at 6 o'clock. But what I found very interesting about this was the applied hour markers, which really look a little bit different, and not something that you, I mean, there are Patek Philippe watches who have used this font, but it makes the watch look very different. Another thing that I thought was quite interesting was the bracelet. The bracelet itself has, it's a 5-row bracelet, and it's quite different. I think they've used these in some of their ladies references. But I bet you it's extremely comfortable, and in a way it kind of makes me think of an Omega Seamaster. I'm not really sure why, but that's that. Obviously, if you turn it over, you have a really beautiful display case back with the caliber 324 from Patek Philippe. A really beautiful movement, beautifully finished, beautiful gold rotor with a Patek Philippe logo on it. So you're getting everything you can possibly get. It's around $48,000, and for something that's a little bit different, I think is really beautiful. Again, this blue textured dial really gives it something, gives it a different feel to it. So that was quite interesting. The blue dials didn't stop at that watch. What we also got was an incredible Patek Philippe reference 5236P. This is an inline perpetual calendar. This is a watch, if you don't really know what inline perpetual calendars are, basically what it means is the date of this perpetual calendar is all in one row. And so when you look at this watch, you have the Patek Philippe signature at 12 o'clock. If you go down, you can see the day of the week, the date, and then the month. And you can see the date. It's basically completely in line. This is a very difficult thing to do it's a very difficult thing to manufacture movements that allow for this to happen. It makes things be a lot tighter, and the blank space is quite wider. This isn't the first inline perpetual calendar. There's the P72, which was a perpetual calendar that was released in 1925, but there was also a pocket watch, the P1450 from 1972, that has an inline calendar as well. I think this watch is going to be absolutely one of the best watches to come out from Patek Philippe. The fact that it has an inline date is going to make it really collectible. People are going to want something like this as opposed to the typical setup for dates on perpetual calendars. And it's literally everything that you can ask for in a Patek Philippe watch. If you take a look at the movement itself, obviously very difficult to construct. It also has a micro rotor, which I'm a huge fan of micro rotors. I think they're some of the, if you can find a micro rotor watch, especially in the vintage side of things, I think it's one of the best values you can possibly find. And Patek Philippe does micro rotors quite often, and they look absolutely beautiful. I did think it was interesting that it, instead of being that gold color that those micro rotors typically are, it was in silver, but still looks absolutely phenomenal. You know, I think this is going to be an extremely collectible watch. At 41 millimeters, perfect size. It's in platinum, which makes it even more desirable, especially with collectors. Yeah, I believe this is probably their best release from this year. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was the Clos de Paris reference 6119 Patek Philippe Calatravas, with this really interesting kind of hobnail bezel of their Calatravas. Obviously the Calatravas are some of their entry-level pieces, and they have released one in rose gold and in yellow gold. And these are running on a new Patek Philippe movement, the 30-255, which is kind of their, I think they're kind of refreshing the sort of their standard hand-wound caliber, the reference 215. It's kind of a refresh to that. I know some people have quite strong opinions when it comes to the 215 movement. So the 30-255 is kind of replacing that watch itself. A phenomenal watch. It's hand-wound. When you flip the watch over and you take a look at the movement, it is absolutely beautifully constructed. I love the curves of some of the plates that they've used on top of the movement, and it just looks absolutely phenomenal. I actually think this might be a new kind of design choice that they're going to make with some of their movements. So this might show up in other movements as well. And obviously the hobnail bezel is quite, the hobnail top of the case is quite popular. So I'm sure that we're going to continue to see these. 39 millimeters, absolutely beautiful, beautiful watch. So those were the releases that I wanted to talk about from Patek Philippe. Let me know what you think about these releases in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. For me, my personal favorite is the inline perpetual calendar. They released the 5236P. By far, I think it's the most interesting release from them, and to be honest, I think it's actually one of the more interesting releases from all of the brands, which I think is really cool. But let me know what you think about these releases in the comment section below. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you like these types of videos. And don't forget to smash that like button for us for the YouTube algorithm so these watches can get to more watch enthusiasts who may be interested in some of these videos. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.